Hi, welcome to the Tournament Center. I'm Zac Hill, along with deck builder extraordinaire and fan favorite Conley Woods.
Extraordinaire.
That's it. You
moving
can
up,
quote me
moving
on
up.
that. Exactly. Now, Conley, you could play any number of colors today. You got all 10 Ravnica dual lands, and yet
true.
here you are coming to bat with basically a mono-black control deck. Now, how did you choose that today?
Well, the team was on a deck a few days ago, and the deck ended up, I don't know, the team kind of splintered off. We didn't really feel confident in it. So then everyone kind of played, there's like 4 different decks amongst the rest of the team, and I had been thinking of this mono black shell with Crypt Ghast and Gristle Brands and whatnot already. I didn't have a ton of testing into it, but it was just like, all right, we got 3 days, lock on Moto, just infinite games, and see how it comes out. And it was testing really well against the aggro decks. I didn't get to play against a ton of Jund or Esper, so I was a little worried about playing against it. But so far, it's pretty much as expected. Cool.
Let's take a look at some of the cards in the deck. Now, if you're going to play mono black, you got to have a reason. We've got Crypt Ghast here. We've got Griselbrand and Mutilate. All these are the cards in the deck that care about swamps. Walk us through exactly why these cards are so powerful.
So Crypt Ghast, beyond just enabling insane plays like turn 5 Griselbrands, which is probably your best thing, assuming neither one gets killed. Just the huge mana output and extort is actually extremely powerful. If you start chaining together Sign-in Bloods or just random guys and they're all draining your opponent in a format where everyone's trying to get you from 20 to 0, that actually comes up to matter quite a bit. Also, even though he has a giant target on his head, as long as you play some other creatures to kind of disperse their removal a little bit, he actually sticks around quite often. Griselbrand, I think everyone knows how powerful this guy is.
Well, I think everyone knows how powerful it is, but you don't normally see just 4 copies of Griselbrand in a deck. You can't reanimate him. You're not doing anything tricky. You're just casting him.
It's pretty much the Sphinx's revelation of mono black, if you will. The benefit is once he's in play, aggro also has to deal with this guy as opposed to just the cards in your hand, because he's going to give you cards and be in play himself. So usually against an aggro deck, you're going to have to turn him sideways once before you start drawing cards, but against a control deck, you're often 18, 16 life, whatever, and drawing 7 cards is, you can do it instantly, and, then they kill him, and you've already Sphinx's revelation. You're pretty happy. But yeah, he's like the big win condition and the big card advantage end game. So I wanted 4 of it. You could pitch extra ones to Liliana. And you really want one on as soon as possible that you can cast it. So
cool. And then Mutilate, obviously, Supreme Verdict is a thing. Is it worth playing 21 swamps in your deck to cast Mutilate?
I think so. Right now, a lot of people are playing Boros Charm, and it gets around Boros Charm, the indestructible option, which is awesome. Also kills Falkenrath Aristocrat. I played in the first round. I played today. The guy had Falkenrath Aristocrat and a bunch of humans, but he couldn't make it indestructible and save it because Mutilate killed it. And it's just your Wrath effect. You need a Wrath effect if you're a control deck in this format. You can't afford to let them just play 4 creatures and expect a spot removal of them all. So it's just your reset button, and it's been quite good. And you also, unlike Wrath, you get to sometimes like do it for 6 with the Griselbrand in play and leave your guy out, which is always
that doesn't
sweet.
Sound bad. All right, let's take a look at some of the other cards in the deck now. Okay, so we've got other ways to kill stuff beyond Mutilate. We've got 4 copies of Victim of Night. Now, how did you decide that this was the removal spell you wanted?
So outside of the Jund matchup, this basically kills everything you wanted to. Huntmaster being the exception. Jund happens to run Vampire Nighthawk and Olivia, so it doesn't kill those. But this is basically, in my opinion, the best removal spell in the format. The reason it doesn't get played is because it's double black. Once you have available double black every turn and you're not an Esper deck or whatever that is going to have colorless plus a black on turn 2, I just feel like this is the best at getting rid of Rancors, getting rid of Hellriders, getting rid of Restoration Angels and Reckoners specifically, things that Ultimate Price doesn't do, things that Devour Flesh does inconsistently. Just a really all-around solid removal spell. I had it as a 2-0 for a while with like 1 Ultimate Price, 1 Devour Flesh, and the more I played with it, the more numbers went up. Like I said, the one exception is when you play against Jund, it's not the most reliable, but basically every other matchup, you're pretty happy to just draw it.
For sure. Now, you're not quite a mono black deck.
No.
You're playing a few red sources.
Yeah, 8 total red sources.
8 total red sources. One of them's for 2 copies of Dreadbore. Now, black is a color that's good at killing creatures. Why did you add red to a deck for a removal spell?
Specifically, this word down here.
Planeswalkers?
Yeah, you have some creatures, you have, as we'll get to soon, you have some creatures to attack Planeswalkers, but it's not always the most reliable, and you're going to board them out in control matchups a lot of the time. So this is the way to do that. It's also a 2-drop removal spell if you need it to be against random creature. Not being an instant is definitely a big deal, but just giving black a way to deal with Planeswalkers outside of Rakdos Return or direct damage is pretty big. So yeah, mainly to like deal with the Jaces and the Damirades who are popping up. Like every deck feels like they have a Planeswalker somewhere in there. So
And just being able to point and click and get rid of it, obviously, very good. Now, speaking of Planeswalkers, we got Liliana the Veil. This is my pick for most played Planeswalker, so I like seeing her up here. Why is Liliana so good?
She just enables really strong plays. You have a lot of turn 2 plays that are strong against aggro, Dreadbore and Victim Knight being some of them, Gloom Surgeon that we'll get to in a second, but the follow-up play of Liliana is very strong.
Right.
Just making them sack any creature you're happy with against aggro. Against Esper or whatever, she's the best thing you can do on turn 3. She just applies a ton of pressure and makes them do things they don't want to do. Either they're discarding lands, their Sphinx's Revelation isn't good,
sure,
or they're discarding Sphinx's Revelation or whatever, and they don't really have a way to attack her, so that ticking clock up to 6 is very, very important.
And you actually use this ultimate right here sometimes?
Yeah. Against Esper, that's your end game, is like, let's get the ultimate up as fast as possible and disrupt them a lot. And then against aggro, once she's used her -2, she sits there at 1, and they either attack her and she gains an additional 3 life, which I'm totally fine with. Kill a creature, gain 3 life is awesome in this format. Or they leave her in play, and I just get to, and they go for my life total, and I just get to use her as I want to see
fit. All right, so you do have some creatures in this 4 Mutilate deck. Now, this is a card that was selling like hotcakes at the dealers for some reason. Not something that I was really expecting. The Gloom Surgeon, you told me this guy was awesome. Why is this a good card?
So they're in the aggro decks, we call them mono red. They all have like green or white or whatever.
Right, it doesn't actually matter.
None of them are actually mono red, but they're
decks.
basically red.
Yeah.
Most of their creatures outside of Flinthoof Boar and Reckoner have 2 toughness. It doesn't matter how many rain cores they have on it, it's still 2 toughness. And this guy comes out in turn 2, and they have 2 choices. They either skip their turn 2 play, or maybe turn 3 if they're on the play, to kill it with a Searing Spear or a Pillar
and you're
Flame.
Like, sure.
And you're like, great, they're not advancing their board state. I'm going to take 4 this turn, that sucks, but, whatever. Or it sits in play, they go, oh, I can't attack with this Cackler and this Ash Zealot, so I guess I'll pass the turn. And it just builds up, makes them overextend into Mutilate, very similar to how like a Wall of Omens would or whatnot. And, it can get busy every once in a while.
Yeah, you can threaten a Planeswalker with it. Now, we know exactly why Nighthawk's good, again, against the
Great
aggro
curve
decks.
out. Again, if the one awesome thing about Crypt Ghast in this deck is aggro decks have to kill these 2 creatures.
Right.
If they don't kill these 2 creatures, they are, really far behind. They can't advance their board state. They can't attack into you. So they're wasting their removal on these. Not wasting. They have to use it.
And
they're using removal on these,
sticks.
and then Crypt Ghast comes down to turn 4, and they're like, oh, it's a 2/2, whatever. And it's not Crypt Ghast that's doing the scary thing. It's next turn when I untap and do all this nutty stuff that I'm gaining a bunch of life. That's awesome, and it really stretches their removal thin. And again, against like a Jund deck or whatever, just having a 2/3 death touch is more than fine.
All right, so rounding out the main deck, we've got to be able to get some card advantage really quick. We all know why card advantage is good. How did we get a Sign in Blood, Staff of Nin, Rakdos?
You need your Think Twice effect or whatever, just like all the control decks do. Sign in Blood's really your best option. It's 2-drop. Not the best against aggro decks. The 2 life does matter, but it seals the deal later on in the game once you've kind of taken advantage. Staff of Nin is almost like a 5th Griselbrand. Very powerful. Yeah, very powerful against control decks. Just a strong play overall. Deals with top deck Falcon Wrath, Wristcrafts, which is important. And Rakdos' return. I have another one in the sideboard. Pretty much proven to be awesome against control decks. And also with Crypt Ghast, you get him for big.
Yeah, like we saw. All right, so you've got to have land to cast your spells. Obviously, we've got Blood Crypt, Dragonskull Summit, Swamp. Now let's take a look at the sideboard though. Slightly different numbers if we can look at the next slide right here. One of these days.
Yeah, one of these days.
There we go. Okay, there we go. We've got Duress, Slaughter Games. These are your anti-control cards, right?
Correct. Slaughter Games, your #1 target is going to be Sphinx's Revelation, but depending on the matchup, you might name something different. Also protects you against counter spells a little bit by seeing their hand. Duress, very similar thing. Duress is particularly good at preempting a Griselbrand, because if you curve out perfectly and you have the turn 4 Crypt Ghast, you'll have 10 mana next turn.
So
Duress into Griselbrand
into Duress.
it's awesome.
That's awesome. Okay, you've got more cards against control because you've got so much removal game one. Do you like going up to the 4th Liliana?
I actually bring her in against aggro too. I don't know why I don't have it main. I can't give you a good reason, but I bring her in I would say a little over half the matchup, so she's been pretty powerful. Just a strong turn 3 play. Underworld Connections, again, another Staff of Nin-ish card, except you get to play it early before their counter magic's up, which is very important. And we already discussed this guy. You bring in another one. One awesome thing about Rakdos' return is if they go for Slaughter Games on your Griselbrand, it gives you like a huge way to win still.
Right.
I mean,
with Crypt Ghast also.
You can always win with like Crypt Ghast and Nighthawks and whatnot, but this is cool that it's just like, boom,
it just ends the game.
Yeah.
Cool. Now, not all your cards are against control decks. You've got some additional juice against aggro, if we can take a look at that. You've got Pithing Needle. I'm assuming it's planeswalkers.
Sort of. It's mostly for lands. Kessig Wolf Run, Nephalia Drownyard, Moorland Haunt. Cards, Gavany Townships. Cards that black doesn't interact with.
Yeah, you can't kill those.
Yeah, so it's just nice that like, if they have a Kessig Wolf Run, every single creature I have to either kill or, you know, I could potentially take a million. So it's nice to have a little bit of an option. Devour Flesh, just another 2-drop removal spell.
It kills Geist to Saint Trap.
Yeah, you can sometimes you sacrifice your Griselbrand to gain 7. It happens. Rakdos Charm for Reanimator, and I chose it over like Tormod's Crypt or whatnot because it's an instant, and occasionally somebody might play some artifact you need to deal with. Just a 1-of to go with the Slaughter Games to beat the Reanimator decks. And then Olivia, good against aggro, mostly in here for mid-range. A lot of decks cannot beat Olivia. Again, they have Alternate Price or Victim of Night or whatever, and they can't kill her. And she sits in play, and she's just messes with everything they're trying to do, steals their Thragtusks.
Right. I mean, yeah, if they can't kill her, you win. Anyway, there's a mono black control with a little bit of red. I'm Zac Hill. This is Conley Woods here at the Tournament Center. Good luck, Conley.
Thank you.